Yes, hello.
Hi, how you doing, Jim? Thanks for taking the time today, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, you give me thanks for the support.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge, been a longtime supporter of legalizing cannabis. I'm an enthusiast and activist here in Massachusetts, so I'm glad. I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, but now it's exploded, which is great. So it's awesome.
I know it's crazy. My cousin and I were driving his Ford Explorer with 25 pounds of weed in the back, driving it to Portland, going, "Do you believe we could do this?"
I know, right? I know. I still have that thing, when I'm picking it up at a dispensary, perfectly legal, and I'll have it in the car, and I'm looking around, I'm obeying the speed limits, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's legal. I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore.
What was incredible was LAX set a policy that you could bring up to 28 grams of flour and 3 vape pens and 2 candy bars through TSA.
Oh my God, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they were, I think they're encouraging tourism. You can come to California, but they do that as a little caveat at the end. Be sure to check out your local state, laws. It may not be legal in your state, but it's okay here.
Jim Belushi, you're bringing Belushi Farms' finest here to Massachusetts, to local roots, next Wednesday in Sturbridge and Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Now, is that all of it? The Blues Brothers, the Captain Jack, the Good Ugly. Are you bringing all of it?
We are. We launched in Massachusetts with this beautiful brick hash on the Blues Brothers label. It's water hash, Vinny there at, my God, this guy's an incredible mad scientist, has created this rock hash that's very reminiscent of the 70s. And it's a long process that we use, frozen live flower, live resin. So it's the full exposure of the plant, the full experience of the plant. And it's just doing so well in Massachusetts that we're thinking about taking that SKU to the other states that I'm licensed in. But those two particular stores that I'm visiting have the most amount of SKUs of the Blues Brothers and the Belushi Farms products. But we're in about 100 different stores in Massachusetts right now.
Nice. Are you consuming right now, or are you just having allergies?
You know what? I just drank some protein powder, and I think that little powder got in my throat.
Oh, God. You got to mix that stuff with, water or oat milk or something, Jim.
Oh, I thought you just snorted it.
No, not this is, come on, we're in the 21st century now.
No, I did. I mixed it up, but there was a little powder left on the side, and I think that got in my throat.
Oh, it's always that last part when you're rubbing it on your gums, and then you're just like, maybe I shouldn't have done that,
Yeah, that protein powder on the gums is really special.
You've been in this business now for, 8, 9 years now?
7, probably. 7. Maybe 8. Right, 8.
And you what I hear constantly from you is you're in it for the healing. You're in it to help people. There are people suffering from pain or trauma or something, and sometimes cannabis works for these people.
Well, the story is I met a veteran at a dispensary visit that said to me that he was a medic in Iraq, and that he said, I saw things, Jim, that happened to the human body that nobody should ever witness. And I came back, and the VA said I had triple PTSD. He goes, I don't know what that meant, but they gave me a bottle with 600 Oxycontins. And he goes, it really screwed me up. And I couldn't talk to my wife, my children. I couldn't sleep. And he goes, I got off it and went to cannabis. And he goes, your strain, your Black Diamond OG, is the only strain that allows me to talk to my wife, my children, and sleep. And he kind of teared up, and he hugged me. And I said, hey, man, I didn't make this. And he said, no, but you're a steward. And that was the paradigm shift for me, where it was like, this isn't a business. This is not a gold rush to make a lot of money on cannabis. This is a purpose, man. And then every dispensary after that I went to, I ran into veterans, people who had car accidents that were addicted to opioids, people who were sleeplessness, hopelessness. Their father had Alzheimer's, and it calmed down the rage that they would get into those fits because they didn't know what was going on. Seizures. But also, it makes you feel good.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a good time, for sure.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. My purpose as an actor is to make people feel good, right? You go to the theater, with your partner, your wife, and maybe you had a little fight in the parking lot, but then you laugh and you leave and you feel good with each other. And so my purpose has always been about making people feel good. And cannabis makes people feel good, whether it helps them with their arthritis or they enjoy a good meal or the touch of their lower skin or a concert. And it's, I always said I was a bouncer in a bar in Chicago in my early days, and I never broke up a fight between two potheads.
Right. Right.
It's peaceful medicine. Everybody is screaming inside. Everybody knows somebody who's struggling with something, and everybody looks for some way to medicate it, whether it's exercise, whether it's alcohol, which is not a good medicine. It's a delightful social thing, but to put pain away, no. It destroys families. It kills people on the highway. It's a poison, And cannabis is not. It's a gateway to healing, not a gateway to hard drugs. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant. And why I like these guys at Local Roots in Massachusetts is because they think the same way I do. And they grow everything organically. They use the natural nutrients. This guy, Vinny, and all the people that work there, they all care. They all have their own cannabis story of why they're in it. They're all passionate. And everything that I do with them is the whole plant. It's not distillate. It's not separated because you really need the full plant experience, and that's why I like these guys at Local Roots. Their cannabis is beautifully grown, cared for, love is put into it, and thoughtfulness is put into it for the people who use it. And, there's a lot of opiates going on right now. People are addicted to it and don't even know it because they got it from a doctor, because they were in a car accident and they got some opiates and then they couldn't get off them. This is so helpful with addiction, cannabis. Because addiction creeps into a family and starts to, like a snake, starts to squeeze until somebody dies. And that happened in my family. And so my mission is to, really help people get off crap.
Well, yeah, I mean, Massachusetts had one of the worst opioid addiction problems in the union. And there's so much legitimate research that shows that where medical and recreational cannabis is available, the instances of overdoses drop.
25%.
Yeah.
Every county that there is a dispensary in, overdoses drop 25%.
No,
that's the stat. That's the last stat. It could have gone up since then. It's amazing. It's an amazing substitute, and it's an amazing quality of life that helps people. I mean, my stepfather-in-law, he was like 90, and toward the end, they had him on morphine, and he was so cloudy, you didn't even know the family was in the room. I said, give him a 1-to-1 candy bar, and they did, and it really helped him with his pain, but he was clear. And the family was able to connect with him before he left. So, there's some beautiful things that happen around family with cannabis. Like that guy, like that veteran. It really was about the family, talking to his wife, talking to his kids, and sleeping. But we can heal the family through this peaceful process of this beautiful plant.
I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned your family, and I'm sure you're referring to your brother, John. I'm just throwing this out there, and this is not a gotcha moment because you know where I stand on cannabis. But what do you say to people when they say, "Well, drugs killed your brother"? How can you get into this business?
Well, drugs killed my brother, not cannabis. If he was a pothead, he'd be alive today. That was his time. That was the 70s, late 70s, early 80s when Pablo Escobar was at his peak and cocaine was the hip thing to do. They would make jokes about it on Saturday Night Live. I mean, it was a cultural thing. Everybody was doing it. It was a different time, and it was a drug. But cannabis has been demystified from a drug to medicine. So I don't consider it a drug at all.
Talking about Saturday Night Live, can we talk a couple minutes about Captain Jack, who might be the most interesting man in the world to me? You have a strain, Belushi Farms has a strain under Captain Jack, and it's called The Smell of SNL. And I didn't know anything about this guy until I went on to the Belushi Farms website. Now, you moved to Oregon to become a cannabis farmer, but he kind of took it a step further. He went to Afghanistan to like the source of a particular kind of cannabis to learn how to make hash. Is that correct?
Well, no, he went in 71. He went to Masha Arif in Afghanistan. I know I didn't pronounce that right, which is the bottom of the Kush Mountains, which was known for centuries for its hashish. And they would take these plants that are so full of resin that they would just like knock the plants and all the resin off. And then they throw the plant away because they just made hash. And he worked in those fields. And the villagers liked him, and they gave him a gift of a handkerchief full of seeds, and he brought them back, and he's been growing that same seed, that landrace seed, since then. And Danny Aykroyd introduced me to him because Captain Jack was the weed dealer for SNL back in the early days when Danny was there.
Wow.
And it was such a stinky weed that the halls filled with the smell, so he was known as the smell of SNL. Oh. But that weed is very creative. It's a very strong medicine because it has a lot of myrcene in it, which is a terpene. Mm-hmm. So we are. I just had a call today with our cultivator, and we are growing it again. We've been working it for a couple years to make sure we stabilize it, and we're about to cut clones from that plant. So it will be available, I'd say, in the first quarter.
In the blurb on the website, you attribute maybe there's a connection between his weed and the creation of characters and skits on Saturday Night Live, like you mentioned the Coneheads and your brother's samurai character.
I don't know about the samurai character, but definitely Danny and the guys he wrote with. You know, they would write Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday all night, and they would take a hit off of Captain Jack's and keep them up like an F-16, to write. And one time I had shared a joint with somebody, with 5 other people, and we went into an hour of, like, topping each other and joking and laughing, and I went, I see, Danny. I see where you got this energy, this creativity, not solely on that, but how it helped him just imagine these weird, fun things, Yes. Yeah, Danny will say, yes, Jimmy, Captain Jack contributed quite a bit to some of the work that I did Saturday Night Live.
Great
but it was more in the writing process. It was in the writing process, not in the performance.
As I mentioned earlier, you've been in the business for 7-8 years. What do you think the biggest obstacle is to federal legalization at this point?
Well, let me just explain it in a different way. In Illinois last year, they collected $472 million in cannabis taxes. In Illinois, the same year, they collected $278 million in liquor. Now, there's more liquor stores and bars than there are dispensaries. So the overtaxation and the overregulation of cannabis is like another war on drugs. It is getting so difficult to run these businesses, and the margins are so small. Nobody's making money in cannabis. So they are really there on purpose for healing, because until they drop this plant off the federal one, the Schedule 1, we're just going to get beat up. So we're all just having faith that one day they will soon, We thought Biden would do it, but he didn't.
Well, what about stigma? Do you think stigma still plays a part in it? You said, cannabis has been
No, I
demystified.
don't think so. I don't think so. There's 38 states that have some form of legalization, medical or recreational or both. I don't think it's stigma. I don't run into anybody that has the stigma anymore. I only run into curiosity. Curiosity. I mean, I went to dinner with an 82-year-old guy, his wife, another 79-year-old guy, his wife, and an 84-year-old guy and his wife. And they have Fox News blasting on their TV very loud, very conservative group. And I was very nervous about them knowing that I was growing cannabis. The subject came up, and all 6 of them turned. So I got a pain in my shoulder right now. Would that help with the pain? I hear the salve really works. You know what? I'm a golfer, and my hands hurt, and I want to do something over my golfing. And one woman goes, I just want to have fun. One woman said, I need some. Does it really help with sleep? One guy said, I was an Olympic athlete, and I got pains in my knees and my shoulders. Do you think that all they wanted to know all about it? So whether you're a red, say blue, independent, whoever you are, whatever you think, we all have one thing in common. We know people who are struggling. And that's why cannabis crosses over all that polarization. I don't think there's a stigma. I already think that within the Senate that a no is more powerful than a yes. And I think the no's are happening just to leverage other deals. And it's just not that high of a priority. And I think, once Mitch McConnell it looked like he could have used some cannabis that day he froze up.
Well, or maybe he did, and it was some really good stuff.
Maybe he took an edible and it kicked in or something.
Right. Right.
I really do think once he leaves the Senate, I think I hope things will lighten up, because I think he's really using it to leverage power broking. But in the United States is like, hey, man, it's okay. I know people that are suffering from chemotherapy, that don't have appetite, and they take an edible, and it stimulates their appetite and makes them feel better without, putting opiates in their body. I know people who suffer, so it's like, let them go ahead. There's no violence around this. There's more violence around alcohol. I mean, like I said earlier, car accidents, domestic, abuse. There's just so much that happens around the overuse of alcohol. But pot, like I said, I don't know any domestic squabbles. Like anything, it could be overused. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it should be used respectfully. You can't be waking and baking day.
I got to disagree with you on the violence part, because I know cannabis use leads to violence against pizza, among many other things. There's a lot of pizza being smashed.
The attack on 12 pieces of pizza are gone.
I know,
gone.
Right?
Violent. That's violent.
Yeah, it can be violent. You might lose a digit if you're near anyone like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, so you were thinking of running for Senate. Is that still something you're looking at?
Oh, that was part of the TV show Growing Belushi, which you can get by the Discovery or Max, the new Max, or Hulu. It's 12 episodes about me and my cousin Chris growing cannabis in Oregon, and it's very funny and very informative. So I kind of made it work in a dimension where nobody's getting high, and it's not a stoner show. It's really about our industry, but also about me and Chris and how we struggle,
Oh, you guys are like my in-laws. You guys are like an old married couple. Seriously, you're like my in-laws. You guys are just getting under each other's skin constantly, and sometimes it's fun to watch.
He's so funny. He's never been on camera. He's never acted. I mean, that's all natural. Chris is just natural.
Is he gonna be with you when you come to Local Roots?
No, he's working in Florida on. We're doing an application for a Florida license.
Oh, okay.
It'll be me and Local Roots, the organic, full experience cannabis, and I'm just so excited to be there again. I was there before.
And finally, I want to get your consultation on something. I am an avid disc golfer, and cannabis is part of the disc golf culture for sure. sometimes ball golfers, they call it swing oil. They have a certain cocktail or a beer they like to drink that may enhance their play. What would you recommend from Belushi Farms for me as a disc golfer?
I take just a little slice of that brick hash.
Yeah.
Put it on a little bit of a more of a sativa hybrid. Just a little pinch and put it in a little pipe and just take one little hit. It makes me feel very, very lucid, very clear, and back in my body. Try it.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually expanded to another farm in order to produce more of that brick hash, to have enough supply because it's doing so well in Massachusetts. I'm excited about that.
Well, we are very excited to see you here in Massachusetts. Again, Jim Belushi he'll be with representing Belushi Farms at Local Roots in Sturbridge and also in Fitchburg. That is next Wednesday. Jim, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for your efforts to educate people on cannabis and to get past the stigma and to show the process and everything. You're doing a lot for a lot of people in many different ways, and I appreciate that. And thank you very much.
Well, hey, man, thank you, man, and thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. Let's be brave, hurt never, help ever.